Lila and Jake had been together for a year. Jake, a kind and intelligent man, always smiled with his brown shining eyes and chestnut hair. Nothing could ever ruin his positive spirit. They spent many days together, feeling inseparable. But 2 weeks ago, everything changed. Jake had become unusually strange, his behavior shifting in unsettling ways. He returned home late at night, eyes weary and disturbed. His hands trembled, sometimes striking the wall for no reason. It all began when he received a mysterious package. Inside was no letter, only an old book with a black cover. Just looking at it sent waves of dread into his heart. But despite the fear, Jake decided to open it. The book contained stories of demonic beings and curses. On the first page, it warned, "If you open this book, there will be no way back." Still, Jake kept reading. He was drawn deeper, fascinated by spells and tales. One night, unable to resist, he finished the last page. It spoke of limitless power in exchange for an innocent soul. Unknowingly, Jake was pulled toward darkness. Days later, strange changes began. His strength grew, his eyes shifted, and animalistic growls rumbled within him. No one knew the book had cursed him. Lila, worried by his strange behavior, decided one night to visit his house, desperate to learn the truth. When she entered, Jake stood in the living room. But something in his gaze was different. His skin pale, eyes glowing yellow, and on his finger, a dark ring shimmered. "Jake?" Lila asked nervously. "Are you okay?" Jake turned slowly, his voice harsh and deep. "I can't run from this anymore, Lila." Fear grew inside her. "Why? What happened?" she begged. Jake's voice cracked. "I don't have control anymore. That book, that cursed thing. I made a deal with the devil." Lila froze. She wanted to deny his words, but his gaze told the truth. Jake's hands twisted, nails lengthening into claws, fingers warping into monstrous shapes. "You'll never leave me, Lila." His voice resembled a starving beast. Lila screamed, stumbling back, heart racing, but her legs shook too much to run. Jake lunged forward, monstrous strength in every move. "I must keep you. You must be mine. Mine forever." His words dripped with obsession and madness. Lila pressed against the wall, tears streaming, heart pounding. She watched Jake change further, his face stretching, muscles swelling into a demonic form. Crying, she glanced at the door, but escape was impossible. Jake grabbed her, monstrous hands clutching her with terrifying strength she couldn't resist. "You are mine, Lila." His grip tightened around her neck. Bones cracked with a chilling sound, like dry wood snapping under pressure. Lila gasped for breath, fighting with fading strength. Her eyes widened with terror, staring into Jake's monstrous face until darkness swallowed her sight. Her final breath escaped, her gaze frozen in eternal horror. Silence fell. Jake stood, panting heavily, beastly growls still echoing in the room. She saw Jake transforming into something beyond human. His face stretched unnaturally, his skin pulled tight over sharp bones, and his muscles swelled grotesquely, tearing his shirt apart. Jake's body cracked and bent, his spine twisting unnaturally, every bone snapping louder than thunder. Layla's hands covered her ears, terrified by the monstrous sounds filling the night. His claws scraped the wooden floor, leaving deep scars behind. The abandoned house trembled as if alive. Shadows lengthened, Layla's breath shallow, fear gripping her chest tightly. Jake's face stretched, his jaw splitting wide. Rows of sharp teeth glistened in the dim light, saliva dripping like acid. His once gentle smile now a grotesque nightmare. Layla whispered, "Please, stop." But Jake's glowing eyes showed no mercy, only hunger. His voice a guttural growl, vibrating the air, shaking the shattered windows violently. The air turned colder, Layla's breath visible in the darkness. Jake moved closer, each step echoing. Claws dripping fresh blood from unseen victims, dread soaked every corner. She tried to run, but the rotten floorboards groaned, trapping her with splinters. Jake crawled along the ceiling like a spider, his monstrous grin widening, hunger unending. A low hum filled the room, like whispers of the dead. Layla's tears streamed, her legs trembling. Jake's body pulsed with dark energy, veins glowing a deep crimson red. Layla stumbled back, pressing against the damp wall, mold covering her hands, her heart racing. Jake's monstrous shadow spread across the ceiling, consuming the fragile light. His voice, distorted and deep, called her name, Layla. Stretching unnaturally, echoing through her bones, she froze, paralyzed by terror, unable to scream or move. Glass shattered from the windows, shards flying like daggers. Layla shielded her face. Jake advanced, claws carving lines in the walls, sparks flying from the raw power. The house groaned, beams cracking overhead, dust rained down. Layla coughed, choking, while Jake's body grew taller, bones snapping, each crack echoing like thunderclaps. Layla screamed finally, her voice piercing the silence. But outside, the world seemed deaf. No one could hear. The house isolated, trapped in an endless nightmare. Jake dropped from the ceiling, landing before her with a monstrous thud, his claws inches from her face, his breath reeking of blood and decay, eyes burning. Layla pressed herself tighter to the wall, her nails scratching paint, desperate, her mind screaming for escape. But Jake blocked every path, his shadow engulfing her. A loud growl shook the house. Rats scattered in fear. Layla's heart pounded like a drum. Jake's claws pierced the wall beside her head, splinters flying across her hair. Her lips quivered as she whispered, "Jake, please." But the creature before her was no longer human. Hunger and madness carved into his monstrous, distorted face. Jake tilted his head unnaturally, bones cracking, a grin tearing across his face, claws dripping. He whispered in a guttural voice, "You can't escape me, Layla." The lights flickered violently, plunging the house into brief darkness. When they returned, Jake was closer, towering over her, his presence suffocating, a nightmare made flesh. Layla's knees buckled. She collapsed to the floor, trembling uncontrollably. Jake lowered his massive claw toward her face, the air thick with dread and despair. Tears blurred her vision, her voice breaking as she cried, "I loved you, Jake." But the creature only snarled, hunger burning in his monstrous eyes, ready to strike. Jake's monstrous form towering over Layla, his demonic red eyes burning with hunger, his claws dripping with darkness, the air trembling with unholy terror. Layla's screams pierced the silence, echoing through the rotting walls, her voice trembling with despair, every cry swallowed by the endless night. Blood smeared across the broken furniture, shadows stretching like claws, the abandoned house alive with horror, dread clinging to every corner. Jake whispered, his voice distorted, "Layla, mine forever." The words crawling like venom into her ears, promising eternal torment. His claws slashed across her trembling skin, tearing flesh, warm blood spilling freely, the sound of agony ripping through the night. Layla's cries weakened, her body shaking violently, eyes wide in terror as life slowly drained from her fragile form. Her trembling voice broke into silence, her last breath escaping as the world around her drowned in red despair. Blood pooled beneath her lifeless body, staining the floor, the air thick with decay, the walls echoing Jake's inhuman roar. Jake cradled her corpse in monstrous arms, his grotesque face twisted with triumph and hunger, horror filling the abandoned house. The scene froze in chilling silence, despair and death lingering, a brutal nightmarish ending carved into the shadows forever.